Me when the me when Jimmy Broadbent comments on my video. No, me when I learned the Nordschleife.
Can we get much higher? So
This is the car, this is the track, and this guy was not looking at the road. If you've been a viewer of this channel for any amount of time, you may even be one of these people who lets me know how bad my starts are, and my starts are horrible, as you've seen all over the place, and I just never worked on them until I saw this, and yeah. I had to put some work in. We're just briefly going to look over my entire career of iRacing and how I continuously lose positions on start. And I know that there is a correct way to launch this car. I just never put the time in, and it's not fair to myself. It's not fair to you guys. It's not fair. I mean, honestly, it's just stupid that I don't put the time in to learn that. It's like I'm just handicapping myself for no reason, and that's not what motorsports is about. It was so bad to the point where I actually made a t-shirt that highlights how bad my starts were. But I'm going to show you guys how I changed that. On the right side of the wheel, I use the bottom paddle to shift up, and then the top paddle, this is for my clutch bite point. Now on the left side of it, I have the bottom paddle set to my full clutch pedals. This is 100% clutch, this is 0% clutch, and then this is my shift down. Looking in my iRacing settings, I'm going to show you guys. So this is my right side paddle that I'm using for the launch trigger, and it sets to 54% clutch, which is like the bite point for the P cup. It's a safe place to put it. And then I have my left side paddle binded to the clutch paddle. I went into some practices and worked on this, and I'm going to show you guys how I launched it. You put both clutches in, throttle to the floor, and then release the clutch bite point, and then slowly release the clutch paddle that's binded to the clutch pedal, and there you go. There is a launch, and no longer will we have bad starts. So we are at the Nordschleife once again, 3 laps. We are starting in P7 as car number 6, so 1 position down from where we were expected to start. I'm fine with that. I think we can make some up. Hopping into lap number 1, and peep that launch. It's totally average, normal, just like all of the cars ahead of me, but nobody behind me is putting me under pressure into turn 1, this is a new thing for me. It feels so freaking good. As a matter of fact, they are 3 wide because somebody else got a bad launch behind me, and that kind of removes me from that contact that just happened behind. I go around the outside of car number 13, not really looking to get that position, just trying to stay safe through that corner. It's very easy to kind of lose the car, or not lose the car, but end up making contact through that corner if you're going too wide. So I prefer to give people more space than they need through there, especially on lap 1. Remaining in P7 at the moment, and the GP circuit is for me really just about maintaining my position. I'm not trying to make any moves. The Nordschleife is where I want to have, well, we're not going to get there actually. Car number 17 behind us ends up making contact. Were we going a little bit slow? We were taking a late apex, so that's, I mean, yeah, definitely we were. We could have done more to avoid that, but it is what it is. That's what I say to make myself feel better. A few cars behind, these guys making contact. Car number 12 getting pushed wide and going around the outside of me as I rejoin the track. I think I'm in P21 or P22. There's only 2 people behind me, so I'm not really sure where we are, but there are so many cars ahead of us. Like, what? I guess that's good because that means there's a lot of, there's a lot of positions for us to make up. So let's get to work. Heading onto the Nordschleife for the first time, car number 21 taking the inside to the entry. We're going to go extremely deep, cut back, execute a perfect switchback there, and get that position. Let's take another look at that one. Absolutely beautiful. See him holding a super tight line there, locks up his wheels slightly in mid-corner, and up ahead of us there is some more carnage going on. Skipping backwards briefly, this is car number 15 who's actually ahead of us. Gonna make contact with 22 ahead of him. Car number 5 slowing down to get around here, and there's gonna be some more contact. We recognize that everybody is on the verge of death here and slow down a ton to let everybody get through there safely. We still end up picking up position from car number 18 there, chasing down car number 5 now as we head into what I really consider to be the beginning of the Nordschleife, and he is just not going to break in time, go flying over the grass. We slow down extra to make sure that he is not going to make contact with us, and he flies across the street and into the barrier, chasing down Dynaco McQueen now. Raphael ahead of us for P16, and you can definitely kind of get into the rhythm sometimes of picking up a bunch of easy positions and it kind of makes you want to pick up more and more easy positions, but I kept it in my head that, those were some freebies, but let's not push our luck and end up killing ourselves. As we exit Flugplatz, a couple of cars ahead of us, this is 12 looking to go around 22 on the inside, basically off the track. 22 not wanting to give space. They end up making contact, but they both get through there alive, and I'm just watching this battle go down. I am anticipating a death, and there will be one. There will actually be two, but it's neither of those guys. The red and pink car off the track on the left side. We're going to pick up both of those, briefly take a look back to see what happened there, and it was a tragic incident. This is the fight for P6 between the red car and car number 3 on his left side. He is going to completely lose grip, go into the dirt, and not able to get the car slowed down. 19 is dive bombing car number 7. He's going to end up paying the ultimate price for that. Not really his fault, but both of them end up in the barrier. So we move past them. We are now up into P15, so I think we're up 6 or 7 positions at this point. Still chasing down Raphael, and at this point, I've seen Raphael make like a few corners successfully, which is more than I can say for the 6 guys behind us. So relative to those people, we have some trust in Raphael here to run a clean race. Not too worried about race pace, honestly, at this point. Just want to focus on minimizing the damage. At the moment, we are losing 48 I rating, so if we could get that to be positive, that would be more than enough to make me happy. I think when we were down in P21, we were at risk of losing around like 120. 48 is already so much better than that. Almost going around the outside of Dinoco McQueen there, but opting to back out as too wide through this sector is, you're asking to die. So settling back, we don't need to put any pressure on him here. He's got 2 guys directly ahead of him. He has enough pressure kind of going on in either direction. I want him to feel safe in this scenario. We've got a lot of time. A few cars ahead, this guy spins out. We hit the brakes, and thank God we do, because he drives back onto the track, hits Dinoco McQueen, and then drives off of the other side. So quite the show put on by car number 14 there. 19 wanted to watch it while being sideways into the wall, and somehow we survived it. We didn't even get touched, amazingly, so we are all good. We lost some time to Raphael. We're up into P13 at this point, still losing 30 I rating, and we are getting closer to losing none as we head towards I guess this is the back straight of Nordschleife, or not this, but this next corner leads to the back straight. We're able to use that slipstream to catch back up to Raphael, and just really quickly, I know my relative is all messed up. It's like randomly decides to funnel us in order of our car number and not in order of position, so I don't know what's going on with that. It eventually kind of randomly fixes itself and then randomly bugs itself out again. But we are making our way towards the end of the lap here, just about to the Dottinger. We've got Yannick behind us as well as Raphael directly ahead of us, so it's going to be a 3-way battle on the Dottinger, trying to find out where I want to be for this battle, just about sending it up the inside of the second carousel, backing out at the last second. That's going to give car number 20 a bad exit, and sure enough, it does. We get a better later apex. We're moving around the outside for this next corner, which is really good, actually. The outside, I think, is a lot faster through here. It's an extremely fast corner, so he has to slow down a bit more. Ends up going side by side with Yannick, which is going to open up a bit of a gap and a speed difference between myself and both of them. Could it be enough to keep me safe on the Dottinger? Yes, it can. We're just going to go ahead and cut to the end of the Dottinger where I'm still ahead of them. So it worked out perfectly for me. I also had just slight slipstream from the car ahead, which helped out a ton. If I didn't have that, they probably would have caught up to me and put a battle on me through the Dottinger. But they didn't, and we maintain P12 at the moment. So we are down to only losing 21 I rating, and through the Schumacher chicane on to the Nordschleife for the second time. Similar situation playing out. We've got car number 22 extremely tight as we head on. He's going to hit that kind of little bump in the middle of there, go deep, and we execute a perfect cutback again. Car number 12 seems to have lost grip just a moment ago. We're going to go ahead and ship this too wide, mainly because I was really starting to believe in my pace at this point of the week, holding him extremely tight through the fast right-hander, and he's going to end up just lifting a little bit more than he needs to, backing out. Guy behind him reappears on his inside, cuts the track, and just about manages to keep it on track, which will separate those 3 from myself and car number 12, who are kind of in our own little group of 2, which is honestly a bit suboptimal for me, as I would have liked to have those other cars right behind car number 12, putting him under pressure, because right now he's able to basically soak up our slipstream and kind of take his own line just in his own time without risk of losing that position immediately. Florian over a second and a half behind him through Flugplatz. Not going to push it to try and achieve any optimum run through here. I would rather just get through safely. We do that. Car number 12 behind us. He's about half of a second behind us. He is getting that slipstream, and he is going to make use of it. I'm holding the inside. He moves to the outside, and I think I overslow for this corner. I don't know if I always overslow for it, but I definitely do here. He goes flinging up my inside into the long right-hander, and I knew he was going to go a little bit deep, finding the space on the inside, just barely finding the space. I mean, just about pixel perfect, and we almost execute a third switchback, except we hit the rev limit on exit. You can see us bouncing off the red line there, so we lose a crucial bit of momentum towards Foxhole that is going to allow car number 12 to maintain his position. And not a terrible thing. Going too wide into Foxhole is certain death for somebody, and I certainly would like to live. So we back off slightly of him here, and we're gonna give him some time to settle into his pace, see what his pace is. This is the guy who got hit earlier on in the race and went around me on the outside when I spun on the GP, so I figured he was anxious, or not anxious, but he was eager to get some positions as well. We are being a bit slowed down by his pace as we come to the carousel for the second time, and Yannick behind us has closed up that gap. He is hot on our tail, so once again we find ourselves in the middle of a situation that's kind of like a little condensed. I mean, we're not under a tremendous amount of pressure, but what is good about this situation is that car number 12 ahead is actually catching that blue guy, who is the guy, that's car number 17 who made contact with us on the GP circuit. So it'd be cool to get that position back for us, but I'm not going to murder anybody over it. And I'm not going to have to, because as we come to the end of the second lap, or I guess it's more like the last third of the second lap, Mehdi Amari, his pace just skyrockets and he starts pulling away from me. He's catching Jeremy, which is great. I would love to follow him past Jeremy if that could happen. It's definitely going to be some sort of battle going on at the Dottinger with how it's looking right now. Potentially one of those situations where both myself and Mehdi get enough slipstream to get past Jeremy and he loses 2 positions. And then he would probably end up going side by side with Yannick behind me towards the end of the Dottinger. That's kind of my prediction at the moment of how this was going to go. But Mehdi was not waiting for this, so he is getting right up on the tail of Jeremy and side by side through the jump, just about forcing that. He does back out a little bit, but I know for a fact that Jeremy was probably a little sketched out by that. Ends up driving into the dirt there, losing a ton of momentum into the wall. Both, or all 3 of us actually, are going to go past him as he is scraping against the barrier, and that could not have been better for me, because now Mehdi has no slipstream ahead, and I know that I should be able to pass him for free on the Dottinger, and I think he knows it too, because as we come through the second carousel, check this out. He actually tries to slow down here extra and let me through, and I actually lift off of the throttle here because I'm not having that. I know that play. I'm not playing into your hand right there, so I'm staying behind. I'm going to get this slipstream, and he knows that I'm going to get this position through the final corner onto the Dottinger, and voila, beautiful run by ourselves. We are 4 tenths behind him, and Yannick is 4 tenths behind us. We should all 3 condense here, and that is exactly what's going to end up happening. Mehdi holding the center of the Dottinger, so forcing me to choose a side. He's probably going to hold me tight if I go on the inside, so I'm going to move to the outside, and then car number 21 is going to follow me through here, actually end up pushing us as well. So car number 12 is pretty helpless here, kind of left out onto an island, and the end of this lap could not have gone, well, I guess it could have gone better for me, but this is just about as good as it could go. Both of them end up side by side heading into the end of the straight and having to slow down, compromising that line for each other. We are able to pull through at the end of the second lap in P9, and look at that, we are positive in I rating. We're gaining 6 I rating, and that's enough. We've done it. We have broke even. Now, I had a feeling heading on to the final lap something was going to happen, and car number 12, I said he was eager earlier. I was right. Here he goes from downtown. And we live. We lived with like a millimeter to spare. Both of them locking up their brakes into turn 1. Super lucky there. I saw him coming up in my rear view and decided to just absolutely ship it. Then I almost spin out on turn 2, but we don't. We survive. We are in P9. We are gaining I rating, and we now have 2.5 seconds roughly to play with the gap behind, or somewhere around there. I don't know. The relative on this track is just crazy. Halfway through the lap, or towards the end of it, and I mean, they're 10 seconds behind us at this point. On top of that, car number 12 going to take too much curb, spin out. 21 going past him. However, his fate would take a turn for the worst as he headed towards the second carousel and went through it sideways into the barrier. So no pressure. We end up crossing the line in P9, and what a performance that was probably my happiest P9 of all time. Sometimes it's not where you finish, it's how you finish, or how the race went. Here are the results. Finishing that one in P9, like I've said about 10 times in the last 5 minutes, and I rating and safety rating wise, we actually went green in both. So what looked like sure death actually ended up as a positive for us. Next race, that is Joey, not me. So car number 7 is Joey, and car number 8, that is me. Joey is starting, for whatever reason, it highlighted Joey. Joey is starting in P6. I'm starting in P7 as car number 8. Lap 1, let's get underway. The new launch that we've practiced, going fantastically. Look at that. We might even gain a position heading towards turn 1. It's going to be close, but pole promotion is on the outside there, that crazy colored car. We're not going to fully send it. Car number 12 going around the outside, and while that is happening, P3 takes out P2. A lot of shit is going on. Joey is promoted into P2. 11 kind of undercut us through turn 1 and gains like 3 positions. We end up settling in behind car number 4, trying to go too wide with him there, but he was not having it, kind of squeezing us off the track a little bit there. So we settle side by side with 18 as we go through the downhill right-hander on the GP, and this could be a little bit hairy. Thankfully, it looks like he's not quite, actually, never mind. He's going to brake late, maintain side by side, but we get a little bit of a better exit. Blah, blah, blah. Passing our gravesite from last race, we're going to make contact, but we're going to live. 18 is on the outside as we head into the Schumacher chicane, or the parabolica that leads to the Schumacher chicane. 10 is soaking up a ton of slipstream. I'm moving to the inside to defend this position. 18 kind of moving to the outside and then settling in a semi-defensive position as well to deter car number 10. And we all three go through here, 1, 2, 3 behind each other, heading on to the Nordschleife for the first of 3 times this race. We are in P6, despite what the relative says. We are in P6. The relative is just ridiculously buggy. It has us listed once again by car number. We're in P6. We're pulling away from the cars behind. This is the leader of the race. That's Joey. This is P3. This is car number 11, and then the other guy, and then there's me in P6. So 6 cars, just to prove it to you. And when situations like what happened this race at the beginning of the race happen, and what I'm referencing is P3 taking out P2, basically the faster guys dying and getting sent to the back. On top of that, having people who should probably be slower than you now ahead of you, it's fantastic because the faster guys are now behind you and there's slower guys ahead of you, which is optimally what you want. You can gain positions from the slower guys. Hopefully you can hold off the faster guys, and that's kind of the goal of the race here. Car number 11, who had that move on turn 1, picking up 3 positions, is now being put under pressure by, I think this is car number 4. He's looking to go around the outside into, well, actually, I guess it's the inside for Hell Corner, going around the outside of the straight that leads to Hell Corner on the inside of it, and they're going to go too wide here. Car number 11, smart guy here to back out, and he's going to settle behind through there. All of that fighting, or I mean, it wasn't much fighting, but both of them had compromised runs through hell, so we are able to catch up. We now have over 2 seconds to the cars behind, and we are on the tail of the cars ahead. So looking at a potentially top 5 position, potentially top 3, it would be a bit of a stretch as P3 is currently 3 seconds ahead. Okay, actually, not that. So potentially top 5. P4, P5 is what we're looking at here. And through the carousel, not the best run from myself, just about popping out early and having to slow down a bit, losing a little bit of time to those guys. But I trust my pace. As long as I can stay at about this range by the time we get to the Dottinger, there's really no chance of me losing connection to these guys. And I guess that means that I have to not wreck the car. Is really, in any race, at any track, what you want to do to stay next to people. I'm almost going to not do that, running over the curb into the barrier and keeping it on track, not losing. I think I lost maybe 2 tenths there. It could have been way worse for me. Really fortunate for how that played out. The 3 of us now heading towards the Dottinger through the second carousel. I'm getting a lot better at that second carousel as well. You really want to hold it tight on the exit, I think. You use that camber as much as you possibly can. We are a bit stretched out. I think there's about 7 tenths from P5 to P4, so he should be getting that slipstream. I don't think he'll be able to pass him, but I should be able to at least condense this group a little bit. And taking a look at P4, and he is swerving all of the way down the straight. As this is happening, Joey up ahead of us is being put under pressure by car number 3. He's trying to take P2 from him. This is that pole promotion car from the beginning. He's going to hold him tight through the Dottinger, and Joey's probably going to lose that position. Car ahead in P4, still swerving like mad all of the way down the straight. Did it do anything for him? Not really. Car 11 is going to somehow run into the back of him, lose a ton of speed. We go around the outside at the end of the Dottinger through the final corner. Could we make this work for ourselves? are going to make it work. I don't think we had any contact there. 11 was very cautious, as he was through hell. Good driving to him, and we aren't going to dispose of him that easily. He is still on our tail as we cross the line to start lap number 2. I've mentioned it before, I'm not really great at the GP, so there was opportunity for him to make a move somewhere here, and I was really hoping he wouldn't, but into turn 1, he's going to look for a dive, end up botching it, going a bit deep there, and we cut underneath him, returning the favor for that switchback that he committed on us on lap number 1, and we cut around the outside. We have more speed than him, should be able to gain this position. We have the inside as well as track position heading into that downhill right-hander, and he's going to end up settling behind us here. So we are up into P5, top 5 position. Car number 4 up ahead of us is about a second ahead of us, and he's now further ahead of us. At this point, my attention is completely focused on defending. We have 11 on our ass, and behind him is car number 2, who started in P2 and got pit maneuvered on lap 1. So I'm hoping that 11 can hold him back. 11 seems to have been pretty lenient with letting people pass him, though, so I'm not super hopeful that 11 is going to defend him all that much, and they are all riding my tail as we head onto the Nordschleife for the second time. I would like to catch that guy ahead, but more than that, I would like to not lose this position. Heading towards Flugplatz for the second time, car number 2 is ready to put a move onto car number 11. I actually end up getting a really solid run through here, and 11, I don't know what happened. It almost looked like he lifted after that first apex, but he loses a ton of speed mid-corner. Up ahead, I move to the right side here, trying to bait 11 to move to the right to follow my slipstream, and he does it. Ends up running into car number 2. Into the wall they go, and here's a couple of different angles. You guys can make up your mind on this one. I personally think there was some netcode involved, but still 11 should not have pulled over that far. There was probably going to be a wreck any way you put it, and that will put 2 out of the race with damage. So we now have no pressure behind us. We have 2 seconds to the car ahead of us, which is the battle for P4, and that's going to change pretty soon here as Joey up ahead, he is chasing down car number 3, trying to regain P2 for himself, and car number 3 is putting in some really good laps here. I mean, they're just about keeping up with the leader up there. However, Joey is not an easy man to shake, and I think car number 3 is going to learn that here. He's still not able to pull away from Joey. They're heading onto this small straight. There's one more corner before the back straight that leads towards the carousel, and I know that car number 3 knows that Joey will get that position down that straight with this type of gap, so he has to really do something. He has to shake Joey here or build some type of gap with this one corner to go. Gets on the throttle a little bit too early, drives onto the curb, and he's going to meet the barrier. Joey gets by, and he actually ends up having some steering damage. So I am currently still pretty far behind those guys. I'm chasing down P4 as it has been. We're kind of keeping him at around a 2-second gap. And P3 currently about 7, almost 8 seconds ahead of us. But as we come towards the end of the lap, heading towards the Dottinger and the second carousel, I realize that P3 is now only 5 seconds ahead of me. Luciano is getting close enough to him now that he honestly might end up being held back by car number 3, as car number 3 does have damage. And yeah, he's pretty close to him. So I'm hoping that car 3 can fall back a little bit or make some mistake that slows down car number 4. I'm really just hoping that he doesn't tow him down the Dottinger and separate themselves from me through the carousel. 3 definitely having to be cautious. 4 clean, safe pass there, and he does end up being slowed down just a little bit. On top of that, he now has no slipstream as 3 is behind him, and I actually have ever so slightly a little bit of slipstream. I mean, not really any. I'm almost 3 seconds behind them right now, but car number 3 with damage, looking to make a pass down the Dottinger instead of pushing car number 4. Shout out to car number 3. He then drives into the wall, and that will have him fall back just enough that I'm going to pick up a little bit of slipstream heading into the end of the Dottinger, end up pulling right behind his tail as we come around the final corner, and just the cherry on the top of everything going perfect for me is that he has to pull into the pits. So he slowed down car number 4. He gave me a little bit of slipstream. He didn't give car 4 any slipstream or a bump, and then he pulled into the pits, so didn't deter my times at all. 2 seconds to go between myself and Luciano. Luciano ran a better lap than me last lap by 1.5 seconds. It's a lot to ask. I would need to put in a pretty fantastic lap here. I have done 49s before in practices, so gaining 2 seconds on him, it's a lot to ask, but it's possible. I would have to absolutely ship it, and I typically don't ship it in the races on Nordschleife. I've learned that the hard way. I ended up dying a lot when I did that, so I generally drive at like 90%. as opposed to a lot of other more technical but more simple tracks. It's more technical tracks but shorter tracks, such as Red Bull Ring or I don't know, really any other track ever. It's easier for me to drive at, say, like 95, 98% and really try and push onto my pace. As we come through these, I think this is the third sector of this lap. It's kind of the first sector of the Nordschleife. We're not doing great, honestly. That gap is about the same. It's still around 2 seconds. The relative will say it's over 2 seconds, but then it will say it's under 2 seconds. Realistically, we are about 2 seconds from him. And coming through Foxhole, I think we might have gained a little bit through here. We get a really, really good exit. The relative is now saying 1.7 and it's raising. I don't know. I can't really trust the relative at all. I'm generally using the visual test a lot more than the numbers on the relative when driving this track, and it looks like he's getting closer to me. He's definitely not close enough at this point that we would be gaining any real meaningful slipstream on the back straight, which is fine. We don't have a ton of time until we get there, so I figured my real opportunity is going to be past that and past the carousel. I would need to close up probably about 5 to 6 tenths to him in order to get into the slipstream range by the Dottinger. That's my 100% my goal. That's where I'm hoping that I can end up. He's still about 1.5 seconds right now as we head towards the back straight, or I don't know what, there's like 2 sectors of the back straight, right? There's this first part, super important that you get a good run through here. It's very minimal braking, little tiny brushing the brakes, then slamming back onto the throttle once that camber comes in. And I think he actually took that a lot better than me, which was disappointing, but it's okay. I had already gotten it into my head that I wasn't going to be in slipstream range for this part of the track. I'm really focusing on past the carousel, trying to make up as much time as I possibly can, and preparing myself to push it from 90% to like 95, 96%, and just let myself drive a little bit less reserved, because I think in general have been driving too reserved. Through hell, we're going to make up a decent amount of time, and at the end of this little straight, the right-hander that leads onto the carousel, closing the gap from about 1.3 seconds down to about 1/2 second. That's what the numbers are saying. The visual test says I probably gained about 2 tenths, 3 tenths through there, and that's fantastic. We just need to do that 1 or 2 more times. We have a lot of the track left. We're only just now going through the carousel, so we're in a really good position. Now, he had pulled away from me on previous laps towards the end of the lap, but nobody's perfect. He's not going to put in his best time every lap, and you know what? My last lap might have been I probably made some mistakes there, so I shouldn't use that as a gauge as what I am fully capable of, or what like my maximum potential is. So we're going to push, not get it into our head that we're slower than this guy, because I think that we can be faster. I know that we can, and it's just one time. Like, that's the great thing about racing, is I'm not comparing my whole career to his. All that matters is this lap. Like, this is literally the only thing that matters. And I can't control how he's driving, but I can do my best to absolutely maximize my driving. So through YouTube corner, really, really crucial that you carry a lot of speed through here. Get a slight late apex. I like to use all of the curb on the left side, and I think I have a slight advantage of him over him there. Through this next corner, he makes a big mistake, driving over the dirt, losing probably a tenth to me, maybe not even a tenth, but he must have lost. In my head, he lost something. All right, that looked bad, so I'm going to say he lost something. Motivate myself even more. He actually pulls away from me a little bit, but he lost something. And we're heading into the final sector. He's about 1 second ahead of me. I need to pull maybe 2 or 3 tenths at least here. Absolutely hauling ass, cutting curbs, and this has to be like my best run that I have ever had through this final few corners before the Dottinger, carrying as much speed as possible, very, very minimal braking through here. I don't know why, but that corner just makes me think of Princess Peach. Very minimal braking through there. Ride the hell out of this carousel. He pops out early. I ride the camber more. I think that gives us some sort of edge. This is my worst corner on the track. I cannot back off. Do not shy off of the throttle more than what is necessary. Just lifting over that crest and then back onto the throttle as soon as the compression comes in. We're 7 tenths behind him. We have a good run. He's already swerving like mad. I'm going to try and minimize my swerving while staying in the slipstream as much as possible. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but it must make something, and we're catching him pretty fast. So we have a lot of the Dottinger to go. We're already 4 tenths behind him. Our speed difference is massive. He's cutting from left to right, right to left. At some point, I just kind of stop following and I stay on the outside. We're going to go side by side with him under the Bilstein Bridge. He's got the inside. He's massively down on speed. We are fully ahead of him. He would have to ship it here, and he's not going to do it. We secure P3 on the final corner at the end of the last lap. Oh my God. This was my favorite race. This was just like my favorite race. I finally figured out how to drive this track, and man, oh my God, it feels so freaking good. So freaking good. Also, Joey just finished P2, so shout out to Joey. He's been killing it this week on this track. He's so fast here. Looking at the results, that's a podium, baby. That is a podium, and honestly, better than a win. It feels better than a win. The way that last lap went, it was just pure focusing in, finding the pace, green in both areas. I don't care about the I rating or the safety rating. It was just that last lap. Oh my God. We ran a 50 flat. That's a pretty good time. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to support me, please check out my channel and some of my other stuff, and I'm sure you'll enjoy those as well.